Hello everybody, my name is Jake, and today I am going to start a series on Tower 3D Pro. Love this game. It's a voice-activated air traffic control game. This is the very first airport that you get. You get 3 selections of airports. The first one is St. Thomas, the second one is Los Angeles, and your third one is Philadelphia Airport. So today we're going to be starting out at St. Thomas Airport. You can choose to do a tutorial or not. The tutorial is kind of pointless unless you just watch a few videos and go based off of that. It's very boring. Your traffic density, we're going to be at 100 today. Forecast clear so that everyone can see everything very clearly, and we're going to do an 8 a.m. start time. Basically, we're going to run off of runway 28 on our takeoffs and landings. The tower, it's set up right across from your terminal here, and you have just a few terminals here, or you have one terminal, but just a few gates to run off of. So it can get confusing if it was extremely busy. However, this isn't a very busy airport, so you just have to watch and make sure that if you have an airplane coming in and needing to go back here, that you don't send one out so that they have a head-on. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Our awesome intro here. Loading screen.
St. Thomas Tower, 1035 requesting push and start.
Our first airplane here is JetBlue 1035. Just some basic intro stuff here. You can zoom in and zoom out if you'd like. I have the real color and real traffic updates. So I have a couple of Americans here, as you can tell. There's my JetBlue back there. I have 5 general aviations here, little Cessnas, and then I have a Delta and a United here. So, oh, there's another general aviation as well. Excuse me, I have 6. So, essentially, we are going to have them running down Charlie Alpha. For my general aviations, I'm going to take them off on Delta. So, with that being said, it starts you a few minutes just before 8 o'clock, which is the time that we selected. Here's your winds and the direction that it's going at, your stars, and shows you're running runway 28 and 10. You have your aiders here, your D-Bright, and your strip. This will not be the default setup. You will have to set these up however you'd like. This is how I prefer them. I'm going to zoom out on that. You have your arrivals come in up here, and then your departures right here. And it also shows you where they're headed if you know airport codes. So, with that being said, let's get started. We will say JetBlue 1035, pushback approved, expect runway 28.
Ground, 28 pushback approved.
And he will begin to push back. With those nav lights on right there on his wingtips, that will tell you that they are getting ready or are pushing back. So I have one over here in the grass. Nothing over here yet. I'll show you later on when one turns on. It won't necessarily always come up in your departures, but it just kind of gives you a heads up
St. Thomas
as
ground,
to when
JetBlue 1035 ready to taxi.
When which planes will be next to load. So there's a few different ways that you can send them to taxi. You can tell them to just simply continue taxi, and they will follow this blue line to runway 28, and they will stop down here at the taxiway there just before runway 28, the extension of it at least. And you can also tell them to taxi there via Charlie Alpha or whatever, using the phonetic alphabet. So we were going to start off by saying JetBlue 1035, runway 28 taxi via Charlie Alpha.
Runway 28
which
taxi
is how
via
it was
Charlie
already
Alpha
set up
JetBlue 1035.
anyways. But that's the way that we want them to go anyways. So sometimes when a plane will land, they'll come in down here and you'll have to tell them that you want them to go taxi to terminal over here, but you'll want them to cross the runway and head over here. So you'll tell them to go taxi to terminal via Alpha Charlie Bravo Foxtrot, and then they'll make their way up here. So he's moving a little slow. This is by far the slowest airport. Very good to begin with, and up here you have a scenic view that you can kind of get a little closer view of these. I prefer to just stay in the tower and have my overview. Your D-Bright will show inbound and outbound. This shows your inbound lineup here, which you'll see later on once we have an arrival. Departures will come off at the end of the airport. You can, if you zoom in far enough, you can see kind of what's going on, and they'll be coming off of here. But I like to stay nice and zoomed out so I can see where my planes are at out here. This one, tells you push back, the plane number, what kind of plane they are, the time that they requested to push back, and this is their estimated arrival time, which will always show 0001. For some reason, it just doesn't have what time they're going to land there. I don't think that it's going to take them, what's that, like 18 hours to get there. I think that's San Jose. I'm not sure. So you have a speed bar here, which you can speed up and slow down things. You can also type to enter commands. So you can type in JBU 1035. So I have too many in there. And it comes up with them. And then you can tell them runway 28. I don't exactly know all of the different features. Sometimes you'll have to type stuff in that you know. You usually don't have to type in everything, though. You can clear command, send it, or once you click on an airplane, you can delete them like that, but I wouldn't suggest that because you lose points then after it has awarded you points. So when you have landed a plane, you automatically get 10 points, but then if you have a collision down here, it takes away those points and gives you a 500-point deduction. So we will go ahead and get this guy out here because there are no inbound airplanes. So we'll tell him JetBlue 1035, runway 28, clear for takeoff.
Runway 28 cleared for takeoff, JetBlue 1035.
There's also multiple different ways that you can get them to take off, and different commands. That's just the most general one. It's the easiest that works for me. And when you start getting into a lot busier situations, you're just going to be rattling off commands, especially like at Atlanta. You'll just sit and rattle off commands left and right. So back here, there's one. This Delta is going to be ready to take off here in the near future. Probably be the next plane to take off. So I don't see any of the other ones there. You can click on them on here and it will automatically follow them, or you can follow them with your mouse. It's a little less smooth. when you do that, but kind of watch him there. He'll leave the runway there and then pop up right there on my D-Bright. Watch him take off there. It shows you how many feet he's at, so that it would be 500 feet, 600 feet, 700 feet, and that shows his speed. So he'll plateau at 250 there. And then we'll tell him JetBlue 1035, contact departure.
Roger, good morning.
And then he is talking with departure, and they will give him clearance to take off outside of the airspace. So, go back here. Doesn't look like anybody else's lights are on. So we will speed this up here. Try to move a little quicker and get a few more airplanes, and then you'll see him. Looks like he's just going straight out departure. Some of them you'll see like make a complete U-turn and then just take off this way. But hopefully get another airplane here. Show you an inbound. Delta should be about ready to push back here rather quickly. In the other senses of taking off, you can tell them what they say in real life, I believe, is you would tell them, you know, Delta, whatever number it is, winds 120 at 2 knots. That's the direction and the knots. And then runway 28
St.
clear
Thomas
for
Tower,
takeoff.
Delta 926 requesting push and start.
And there's Delta right there, ready to take off. Or ready to push back, excuse me. Delta 926, pushback approved, expect runway 28.
Ground, 28 pushback
Oh, I
approved.
see, I'm still on
Delta
16.
926.
He pushed back real
St. Thomas Tower, Air 8031 with you runway 28.
It's my
St.
inbound.
Thomas ground, Delta 926 ready to taxi.
Delta 926, runway 28, taxi via Charlie Alpha.
Runway 28 taxi via Charlie Alpha Delta 926.
And this KAir 8031, he's going to be a general aviation flight, a little Cessna. So one of these little planes is basically what he's going to be. So he's coming in pretty slow at 125, and he is at 3,000 feet. He stays at 3,000 feet until he reaches this hash mark here, and then he begins his descent. So I don't have to worry really about, it's kind of showing me where he's at in comparison to when I can take this Delta off, because by the time this Delta gets down here, he will already have begun his descent. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and give him clearance to land. K08031, KAir 8031, runway 28 cleared to land.
Runway 28 clear to land.
And once he
Air
gets a little bit
8031.
closer, you can watch him come in through that valley there and land. So we will speed up again to 16 and let this Delta get all the way down to the end. I give him the full runway there. He's still at 3,000 feet, so he still hasn't even begun his descent. And this is, from what I've been told, this right here is about the 4-mile mark, which is when you don't want to send another airplane out, versus when they're going to come in and possibly have an interaction with another plane. So I'm going to go ahead and get him out. Delta 926, runway 28 cleared for takeoff.
Runway 28 cleared for takeoff Delta 926.
Oh, I was going to show you guys how the different forms there. Anyways, I'll show you on the next plane. So we're already almost up to our half-hour mark. We will speed up here some more. Get that Delta on out of here. He's cooking out of here. He's down to 99. airspeed, and he's just around 1,500 feet. So we'll get this one out of here and tell him Delta 9026, contact departure.
Roger, good morning.
There's that, and we will await his inbound there. Do we have any other airplanes? There's another one that is lit up. And that guy down there is still pretty quiet. So, go ahead and speed up. Show you him. There you can just barely see him off in the distance. You can see his nav lights. We'll speed up to like ×4 and watch him come in just a little bit quicker than normal, but he's at 600 feet, 500, slowing down, and he will actually come in over the numbers, so he won't use the extension of the runway, which the numbers sit at taxiway Delta, and that's where he'll come in. So he comes in a little high to begin with, and then he pops up on the airport there, and right on the numbers. Off on Delta, very quick landing. Then he'll stop coming off of the runway there, and we will tell him to taxi to the gates here. KAir 8031, taxi to terminal. Taxi's going all the way down to the end, right where that JetBlue originally came out of. You can also tell them to taxi to terminal via Alpha Charlie, but if he's in these 4 gates here, then obviously he's not going to go Alpha Charlie because he's got to stop here. So I usually just like to tell them to taxi to the terminal unless we're on a bigger airport and there's a different route that I want them to take than the suggested route. So speed up here. Ooh, there's another one right there that's getting ready. Also, the check mark right here shows that I've given him clearance to land, which I don't know if you saw that when it popped up, but if they do not have clearance to land yet, then there will not be a check mark if you haven't issued that to them yet. So, once they get in, that will disappear. Don't have to do anything else with him, and his lights will turn off, just like so. Now, we will proceed until we get another airplane, one of those two, probably this one here. In the corner, if I remember right, his lights were up there first, so. No more inbounds yet. That guy's still quiet down there in the grass. And we're approaching 45 minutes here. In-game time. There
St. Thomas Tower, KAir 8041 requesting push and start.
Back down to ×1 speed. We will KAir 8041. Pushback approved. Expect runway 28 at Delta.
Ground 28 pushback approved.
I guess you
8041.
can't give them clear or tell them where you want to go yet. But once he gets pushed back, I'll tell him that he's going to go at Delta, and then he will enter the runway there at Delta where the numbers are and take off, because obviously he doesn't need the whole runway to take off. I gave the jets clearance to go all the way down to the end because they use most of the runway to take off, whereas these guys will take off darn near before Charlie, and that's all the runway they need. So KAir 8041, runway 28 at Delta.
Runway
switches down here to tell him at Delta he will begin to taxi through there to Delta. It changed the suggested route, so I don't have to tell him runway 28 at Delta via Alpha Delta. He'll automatically do that. So, and then I'll go ahead and give him clearance to take off because I don't have anything coming in. So, KAir 8041, runway 28 clear for takeoff.
Runway 28 cleared for takeoff.
And
KAir 8041.
once you clear them for takeoff on the active runway, they get a check mark right there. Shows that he's doing runway 28 at Delta, which is right over here. and it shows you, it's supposed to tell you when they've pushed back. That's supposed to come up. Sometimes it comes up before, once you give them clearance to push back. Sometimes it gives it to you while they're taxiing. I've had it where it also doesn't do it at all, so I don't really judge off of that right there. So and we'll see if he can take off before Charlie here. He is all lined up and firing up. Here's Taxiway Charlie. He's already off the ground before Charlie. Crazy how quick those things get up and off the ground. So, and then he will leave the airport there and show up on my D-Bright. And I will tell him, KR 8041, contact departure.
Roger, good morning.
I want to do one more here. Once this KR comes out and show you another method. I may wait for both of these because there's two methods of giving someone clearance to take off that will kind of save you time, but it's a mouthful versus realistic. So we'll do times 16 here and hopefully this guy will get going. Still nothing down there. He should be coming in momentarily. Do love the realism
St.
of
Thomas
the
Tower,
pushback
KR
trucks
8561 requesting push and start.
and the fuel trucks. There's buses that come around to get the passengers. Really awesome, realistic features. And the graphics aren't bad either on this game. It's pretty realistic. I like it. So we have our KR here. KR 8561. Pushback approved. Expect runway 28.
Ground 28 pushback approved.
Get him
KR
all pushed
8561.
back very quickly.
St. Thomas ground. KR 8561 ready to taxi.
KR 8561. Runway 28 at Delta.
Runway 28 at Delta KR 8561.
You know, I'm going to give him taxiway clearance to Charlie. KR 8561. Runway 28 at Charlie.
Runway 28 at Charlie KR 8561.
Now it's updated there telling me that he acknowledges that he is going to Charlie to take off. And he will begin to taxi. Get him there rather quickly, and then he'll wait. I'll tell him here is the realistic version of the takeoff command that you can use, just a different variation of giving them clearance to take off. So KR 8561, winds 113 at 2 knots, runway 28 clear for takeoff.
Wind is 113 at 2 knots, runway 28 cleared for takeoff KR 8561.
That there is the realism version. That's what they would say in real life. And then they get to taking off. The other version is, it's a mouthful, but it saves you time, kind of. I don't really like to do that because I like to keep track of my planes and where they're at in my departures and in my arrivals, so I tend not to do that, and it's quite a mouthful, and you'll see. But let's get him. KR 8561, contact departure.
Roger, good day.
And he is out of there. Go back to time 16, and hopefully we can get this American out rather quickly. So, just past our hour mark. Now we're at 9:04. We've taken care of 5 planes. They give you 10 points per interaction, whether it's a landing or a takeoff, arrival or departure there. They give you
St.
10
Thomas Tower,
points apiece.
American
So
1350 requesting push and
here's
start.
this American 1350, pushback approved, expect runway 28.
Ground, 28
And I'm going to
pushback
have him
approved.
go all the way down
American
to the end
1350.
there. But for sake of time, continue.
St. Thomas Ground, American 1350 ready to taxi.
American 1350, runway 28, taxi via Alpha.
Runway 28 taxi via Alpha, American 1350.
And get him down there to the end. And the last method that I wanted to show you, he'll stop there. Here's the last version of the takeoff command. American 1350, runway 28, clear for takeoff. Upon reaching altitude 1000, contact departure.
Runway 28 cleared for
So
takeoff.
now
Upon reaching
basically
altitude
what's going to
1000,
happen,
contact departure, American 1350.
obviously his read back to me, and then he'll load up and take off, and then once he reaches 1000 feet or 010 on the deep right, it will automatically contact departure, and I don't have to tell him to contact departure. But as you could tell, that was an absolute mouthful, and sometimes, especially like at Atlanta, you'll be rattling off commands left and right, and you won't really have time to say all of that stuff, and it's just easier to, for me at least, it's easier to just tell the airplane contact departure after they've gotten out a little bit, and it helps me keep track of airplanes. And when you're so busy and you have planes lining up, it helps me keep track, because when you tell them to contact departure, then you can get your next one started on the runway and headed out. So that's another reason why I like to tell them to contact departure separately from their takeoff clearance. So we'll go at 8 for this one here. Left the airport, he is at 200, 300. As soon as you see 010, he will disappear off the screen. Oh, little 360 there in the air. That's total realism. Just over 200 knots. And there he goes. Automatically contacted departure at 1,000 feet. So there's a extra 10 points there, but thank you for watching. This was St. Thomas. Pretty slow airport if you're looking to get started. This is a great airport to just kind of get started on learning your commands and things like that. So if you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you.